The arrest that changed everything. Julian Coleman had seen it all. Growing up in a rough neighborhood, he knew what it meant to be looked at differently. But tonight, as he drove home from a long day at work, he had no idea his patience and principles would be put to the ultimate test. A routine stop, or so they thought. Flashing lights flooded Julian's rearview mirror. Sighing, he pulled over. He wasn't speeding, his taillights were fine, so why was he being stopped? Before he could reach for his license, two officers approached, hands resting on their holsters. "Step out of the car," one barked. Julian remained calm. "Is there a problem, officer?" "You match a suspect's description," the other officer snapped. Julian raised an eyebrow. "And what description is that?" Silence. The officers exchanged glances before ordering him out of the vehicle. Julian complied. He knew the drill: stay calm, stay respectful. But the tightness in his chest was undeniable. The humiliation. They frisked him right there on the street, in front of passing cars, before slapping the cold steel of handcuffs onto his wrists. "Looks like we got ourselves a tough guy," one officer muttered under his breath, chuckling. The other officer smirked. Bet he thought he could get away with it. Julian bit his tongue. He had been through this before. The sting of injustice was nothing new. But tonight, they were in for a surprise. Dragged into the station, Julian sat in silence, waiting. The officers busied themselves with paperwork, joking about how another one bites the dust. Then, a door swung open. A senior officer, eyes scanning the room, froze when he saw Julian. "Coleman? What the hell is going on?" The two arresting officers turned, confused. "He was loitering, possibly connected to a robbery," one of them said, suddenly unsure. The senior officer's face drained of color. "You mean Julian Coleman? The new police chief?" Silence. The weight of those words crashed down. Their smug grins vanished, replaced by sheer horror. Julian stood, shaking off the humiliation. He didn't lash out, didn't yell. Instead, he walked to the officers, looked them in the eye, and said, "Gentlemen, we need to have a talk about how we do things around here." What followed was a complete overhaul of that precinct's policies. Mandatory bias training, accountability measures, and internal reforms. Because of one arrest, one mistake, Julian had the power to make sure this never happened again. And that's exactly what he did. A lesson for everyone. This wasn't just about Julian Coleman. This was about every person who had ever been unfairly targeted, about changing a broken system from within. And that night, a powerful message was sent. Sometimes, the person you underestimate the most is the one who changes everything.